It's funny, you know, how you can spend half your life convincing yourself that nothing bad could ever happen in a place like Galveston, Texas, where the air hangs thick with the smell of salt and cut grass. The cicadas buzz so loud you start thinking maybe their noise is what keeps evil away, and porch lights glow soft enough that everything looks harmless from the street. Yeah, that kind of night. The kind that fools you right up until the moment the universe decides to remind you, hey, bad. Things don't care about geography or zip codes. They just need an opportunity. Let me back up a sec. There's this little corner cafe, nothing fancy, but the sort of spot where regulars come for the comfort of being known. Clinking coffee cups, lazy silverware, you could close your eyes and almost feel like you belonged to something peaceful. Except that night, sitting by the window was Emily Parker, mid-30s, gorgeous in that understated way, the kind of woman who doesn't try to draw attention but still does. Mostly because of the wheelchair. She wore it like armor, never hiding, and on the side, a Navy SEAL trident, polished so clean you could see your own guilt in it if you looked too close. People never really got what it meant, but the ones who did never forgot. Emily used to lead teams into hell. She was the best of the best, until a mission overseas cost her both legs, but brought her team home alive. After that, she moved here, traded adrenaline for quiet, hoping to blend in, to just be another face at the cafe. Yeah, right. Because fate loves irony. So, right when things felt safe, the cafe door slams open, bell rings out sharp then goes dead, and in come three guys who look like they chewed up the set of some biker show and spat it out on the sidewalk. Leather vests, chains, boots that hammered the floor, loud, laughing the way only people with no conscience can. They moved like they owned the place, making folks shrink back, loving it. Their leader, Chad Briggs, big guy, tattoos everywhere, that special coldness in his eyes. He spotted Emily, and you could see the wheels turning in his head. Here's a target that looks defenseless. Easy victory for a man who's never seen real war. He made a beeline for her. His boys fanned out, making noise, grabbing attention, but Emily just sat there, still as a stone, looking up at him with this bored calm that probably rattled him more than any screaming could have. He leaned in, shadow swallowing her, and tried the oldest line. What? Your boyfriend leave you here? Emily barely looked at him, her voice calm as winter. I'm fine. No fear, no apology, just those two words. It made him mad, really mad. He pointed at the trident on her chair, mocking. What's that? Some cereal box prize? Emily didn't blink. I earned it. The place went dead silent. Chad laughed. Nasty, like he'd swallowed a handful of broken glass. They let cripples into the SEALs now. His men howled. Most folks turned away, pretending it wasn't happening. But in the corner, two men went very still. Jake and Matt Parker, Emily's twin brothers. Guys you wouldn't pick out of a crowd unless you knew what to look for. But there was this quiet intensity about them that said, don't test us. They didn't move, didn't say a word, but their eyes locked on Chad like predators eyeing prey. Decades of discipline ready to detonate. What no one else in that room knew was the Parkers don't break. They're the storm. Now, Emily didn't get here by being weak. She was always stubborn, tough, grew up outrunning the boys, never backed down. She joined the Navy at 18, wore the SEAL trident by 25. That badge on her wheelchair? That's blood-earned. She threw herself on a grenade to save her team. Came home different. The world expected her to disappear, but she rebuilt. Quiet life? Yes, but not a fragile one. Jake and Matt followed her into the service, 2 minutes apart in birth, but always side by side. SEALs too, forged by the same fire. And there was Daniel, the brother-in-law, a regular guy who kept his head down and loved his wife, but he'd bleed for this family. They were all here by chance for a barbecue, nothing dramatic planned. But trouble has a way of sniffing out the unbreakable. In Galveston, there was another name you had to know, Carla Dunn, HOA president, queen of the subdivision, all manicured nails and fake smiles, a woman who ruled by fear and fines. With shell companies ready to scoop up the homes she crushed with her rules. Most people, they just grumbled and paid up. Not the Parkers. Back at the cafe, Chad tried to push Emily, literally, hands on the arms of her chair, slamming it back, rattling the table. Cups spilled, plates clattered. Jake was half out of his seat, Matt's hand on his shoulder. Wait. Emily's eyes never left Chad's. calm as the sea before a storm. I earned that trident, she said again. Chad sneered, called her a cripple, threatened to dump her in the street. His buddies laughed, but the room felt like it was holding its breath. You could feel the tension, like a wire ready to snap. A young soldier in the corner, home on leave, fists clenched. He didn't know if he should jump in, but something told him, stay back. Help was already there. Chad pushed harder. With a jerk, he shoved Emily's chair into the table. Coffee spilled onto her lap. Still, she didn't flinch. She just looked up at him, eyes cold as steel, and the silence that followed was deafening. That was the trigger. Jake stood up, quiet, deliberate. No drama, just the room shifting around his presence. Matt followed. The bikers laughed, thinking this was hesitation. Step away from my sister, Jake said, voice like a gunshot. Chad, puffing up, tried to brush it off. What? You think you can stop me? Jake didn't blink. No, you don't know who you're messing with. For the first time, the bikers hesitated. But bullies don't quit until they're forced. Chad barked at his guys. Teach these clowns a lesson. Everything exploded, chairs scraping, people screaming, but the Parkers moved like a well-oiled machine. Jake intercepted a punch, twisted a wrist, sent the biker crashing across a table. Matt intercepted the second, knocked the air out of him, and tossed him onto the floor like a rag doll. Chad was left alone, looking dazed, realizing the math didn't add up. He charged at Jake, but got dismantled, joint lock, knee to the gut, swept legs, down on the floor. It was over in seconds, 15, maybe. The cafe was a wreck, but the only thing broken was the biker's pride. Phones finally came out. People started recording now that the danger had passed. Emily, cool as ice, looked down at Chad and said, "You picked the wrong family." Chad tried to sneer, "This ain't over." Jake leaned in, calm, terrifying. "No, for you it is." The cops came, Detective Bramble with them, a man who could size up a room in 2 seconds flat. "Who's responsible for the takedown?" he asked. Jake and Matt stepped forward, not proud, just honest. "That'd be us." Bramble nodded, checked the bikers, then Emily gave a soldier's nod of respect. The twist? When Bramble asked who sent the bikers, it all came out. Carla Dunn, the HOA queen, was behind it. The kid biker cracked, gave up the name, and just like that, the neighborhood had a new weather system brewing. Carla, meanwhile, was across town in her fortress, watching her surveillance feeds, seeing her empire shake. She called a board meeting, tightened her circle, told them it was time to remind people who was in charge. The more she schemed, the more people she scared, the more her grip loosened. Don, her treasurer, sweating bullets, started secretly recording her. One of her enforcers, Vince, said what they all were thinking. "You want control back? Crush the Parkers." The next day, the Parker home turned into a war room. Jake mapped out the subdivision, Matt checked perimeters, Emily collected neighbor testimonies. Messages flooded in. "If you're fighting her, I want in." Fear started to turn into resolve. Bramble brought over 2 years' worth of complaints, a binder full of every family Carla had squeezed. The Parkers, and their story, became a beacon. Neighbors who'd never spoken up shared violation letters, audio of threats, even proof of fake citations. The silent turned into a chorus. Carla's empire of fear started to crumble, her own board members doubting her, her name whispered in every kitchen, every porch. But Carla wasn't done. She doubled down, plotting more intimidation, more pressure, but it was too late. Don's recording, sent anonymously to Bramble, was the nail in her coffin. Order is built on fear, and fear is built on consequences, Carla's own voice said, damning herself. And then, just as dawn broke over Galveston, the feds and local police hit Carla's house. She opened the door in her silk robe, ready to bluff, but for once, words failed her. "Carla Dunn, you are under arrest," cuffed, marched down the walkway she once paraded with pride. Neighbors watched, recorded, and the Parkers stood in silent witness. Carla tried one last threat. "You think this is over?" But Emily, calm as ever, answered, "It already is." That day, the neighborhood changed. People talked again, helped each other. Kids ran in the street. The Parkers hosted a cookout. No HOA, just neighbors, food, laughter, and for the first time, no fear. Jake stood up, said, "The problem wasn't this neighborhood. The problem was the lie. that one person could control you all. That lie is gone now. Emily sat on the porch that night, sipping tea, feeling, for the first time since the blast overseas, like she was home. Jake and Matt laughed about how the hardest battle was the one fought over fences and backyard BBQs, not deserts or jungles. And Emily said quietly, "Justice isn't what happens in a courtroom. It's when people remember they don't have to bow their heads anymore." And as the sun rose over a street filled with laughter and hope, even the scars from the past felt lighter. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is stand your ground and tell the truth. And sometimes that's all it takes to bring a whole kingdom of fear crashing down. So, what about you? Where do you stand when someone tries to rule your life with fear? Would you speak up or stay silent? Drop your thoughts below, because justice only lies where people are willing to fight for it. You know what I mean?